Hey, what's up guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you the best controller settings for the new Fortnite Season 2. Fortnite have added so many new mechanics in the game recently, and there are a bunch of hidden settings that you may not know about. So today I'm going to be covering everything you need to know to make you the best controller player you possibly can. Also, ever since my hand cam video, everyone has been asking me to go over my controller binds, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing in this video. But I've got a lot to cover, so let's not waste any time and get right into it. So first things first, as most of you know, I do play Claw. If you want to learn how to play Claw yourself, I made a great tutorial that has over 3.1 million views. If you don't play Claw, that's fine. This guide will still be super helpful for you. So Fortnite have added so many new mechanics recently. All of these new mechanics play a huge role in what settings I use, so let's get right into it. So let's jump right into the settings here, and as you guys know, I do play controller on PC. So a lot of these settings here are actually PC settings, so I'm not going to go over them. I'm pretty sure it's Gyro makes great PC settings videos, so you can go check that out. But let's dive into the important settings and the ones we can all change, which is the game settings. First of all, as you can see, we got the 60 ping king up in here. Yeah! And then obviously you have language settings, but down here under the movement tab, we have the toggle sprint setting. And for this toggle sprint setting, you 100% want to have this on, and let me show you why. So if I have toggle sprint on, basically all I need to do is click one button and it will auto sprint for me. I don't have to do anything. Whereas if I turn toggle sprint off, now I have to actually hold the sprint button down, and as soon as I let go, it stops sprinting. So you definitely want that on. This is also a super useful setting for if you just want to do like a sprint jump without even moving. So basically I can be on the very edge of something and just all of a sudden sprint jump straight away without even having to sprint. So an example for where this is useful is if I don't have enough room to actually sprint and jump, what I can do is almost press sprint and jump at the same time while pushing forward, and this will allow me to do a big leap without actually having to sprint beforehand. The next setting we have is auto open doors, and once again I highly recommend you have this on. If you do have this setting off, you'll still be able to slide through doors as well as sprint through doors, but what you can't do is just walk through a door normally. So if you have the setting on, it means you can go through a door no matter what you're doing, and it is very useful. It's also really useful for if you're doing edits and you accidentally fail, you just automatically go through the door and it kind of keeps your momentum. But this next setting, mantle activation, is where things get interesting. So I think this setting defaults to hold jump, which means when you get near a ledge, you actually have to press the jump button to grab onto it. But if you change it to hold forward, what that means is that all you have to do is keep running towards a ledge and it will automatically grapple up. Hold forward can be helpful if you just want to look at a wall and instantly jump without actually having to press the X button. But this can get you into trouble if you do have an enemy above you and you're trying to do peek shots and it automatically grapples up without you wanting to. But if I turn this setting to hold jump, now no matter how close I get to the wall, it won't actually jump up unless I press X to get up myself. So I highly recommend you keeping this on hold to jump. It just means it requires that extra step to jump up, but it means you're more in control of your movement. Hold swap to pick up can be a pretty useful setting. So if there's a shotgun on the floor, rather than just picking up two shotguns, what you can do instead is actually hold your pickup and it will replace the shotgun in your slot. This works with literally anything that's on the ground. I can just hold to pick up and it will replace whatever I'm holding. Toggle targeting, I recommend keeping off, but if you do turn it on, basically as soon as you press the aim down sight button, it will lock in. It's just so you don't have to hold it. It's a very newbie setting, so I recommend keeping it off. Mark danger when targeting is actually a really useful setting when you have it on. Basically, you can mark anywhere you want to on the map, but as soon as you're aiming down sight, it'll automatically mark it as the red marker, which everyone knows that means you're targeting enemies. Auto pick up weapons I prefer to have off, and preferred item slots, I highly recommend you guys set this up. It means you can set each loadout slot to whatever you want it to. So for me, it's shotgun, SMG, AR, consumable, and then utility. This means that basically no matter what order I pick up my items, they will always be in the slots I want them to. I've never had any issues with this loadout, and I always know what slot I'm in without even looking. Next up, reset building choice on on, I always have that on. Basically, every time I pull out my builds, it's always going to have a wall there. Disable pre-edits on, turbo building on, confirm edit on release. I definitely have that on. Keyboard and mouse players have mixed opinions about this setting, but I have it on even though I have a confirm button. It just makes your edits so much quicker, so I highly recommend it. And the rest of these settings are pretty whatever, except for the tap to search interact. I do have that on. Basically what this means is that when you come across something like a chest, all you got to do is just press a button rather than having to hold it. It just makes life a little easier. Now that's pretty much it for the game settings. And if we go over to the HUD settings, I recommend just turning everything on, and then anything you don't like, turn it off. Your HUD scale as well, I wouldn't have this too high, because if you do, everything just becomes way too big and blocks too much of your screen. So I recommend having on as low as you possibly can. For me, that's probably about 75. Over in the next tab, we have the gyro settings. Now I don't actually use gyro aiming myself. If you do, you're insane. Let me know down in the comments. We're gonna skip over the keyboard settings and head straight into the controller settings. Now once again, obviously not gonna go over everything here because I've already made a controller settings video, but something I do want to touch on is the slide hold time. Pretty much what this means is how long you actually hold the crouch button until you start sliding. So if you have this on super high, it's actually going to take you a really long time to actually hold your crouch button before you start sliding. It's almost like there's an input delay. But if your slide hold time is too low, then basically all you have to do is literally just touch the button and it will slide. So you just got to find that sweet spot. And for me, I found that sweet spot to be around 0.09 seconds. Just play around with it yourself and try and get it to as low as possible. But for anyone wondering, these are my controller settings right here. So 35%, we got 2.0 build and edit mode. And I pretty much have all these settings turned off. I'm playing on linear and my dead zones are 10 and 7. So I try and get my dead zones as low as possible, and that's that for me. I got enable foot control off, and finally we have my controller binds. Now this is what you guys have all been waiting for. So the first bind I'll tell you is the new tactical sprint bind. All of us controller players had to figure out which bind we wanted to tactical sprint, and for me that's R3. So as soon as I click this down, I start auto sprinting. This is super useful because I can just be in a fight and then easily click that R3 and all of a sudden I'm sprinting, so I don't have to do anything with my thumbs. They're already ready to tactical sprint. As for my other controller binds, I pretty much have default everything because as you guys know, I do play claw. These right here are my build controls, and then we have my edit controls. So I use R1 as select, L1 as reset, and R2 as confirmed. So I'm pretty much doing all my editing with these bumper buttons, which makes editing really easy. I think the most important bind that I recommend you copy, whether you're claw or non-claw, is L3 switch mode. I always have my left thumb on the analog stick, which means I can pull out my switch mode whenever I want, and it makes it so easy. I highly recommend that because once you learn it, it'll literally change your life. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for the season 2 controller settings overview. If you do want a great map to practice all your new controller binds, you can go check out my editing dictionary, which has every single edit in the game. Also, don't forget to use code Flea in the item shop. I really appreciate it. I'll leave 2 videos on screen for you to choose from. If you did make it all the way to the end of the video, drop a controller emoji in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.